Well, okay, but Smash is being really like, he's being coy here, right? What he doesn't realize is that he has unwantingly been thrust in to be the representation of the gaming community right now. And the gaming community is out here saying, hey, this guy is putting up a fight for all of us. And that's what's happening right here. So over the last 3 days, I mean, we backed him, Dr. Disrespects backed him, Hypnotics backed him, like go down the list, right? Because, because here's the thing, right? We all talk about this stuff on a day-to-day basis, but what they don't realize is that we're not all talk. We are action too.
The point is that we've seen a pattern here, right? And they didn't expect that this community, that Park Place, Renegade Nation, everybody else, hey, we'd step up and go like, no.
Renegade Online.
This is such a real crappy case, which I would agree with, is it almost feels like they didn't expect me to fight it. Like they just thought I'd be like, I don't have the money to do this. Maybe I don't know why they would bring this with any kind of legitimacy, thinking that they have anything here, because this is embarrassing, like reading through it.
It is hard to imagine that anyone familiar with the law, which, let's be clear, most lawyers aren't. Most lawyers, just like I'm not familiar with tax law, most lawyers are not familiar with most areas of law. They're familiar with the areas of law in the areas where they practice. And defamation is actually, it's not rocket science. In fact, tax law is rocket science. Defamation isn't. But most lawyers don't know about it. But if you once you decide to put pen to paper, let's put it this way: the lawyers who wrote the cease and desist letter to Pro or to that Park Place,
which was, by the way, an attorney who was not specialized at all in anything to do with what he was sending the letter about.
Well, it's not clear to me that he was specialized at anything.
Well, losing.
I mean,
I did make the joke that I thought they ordered him from Temu.
Temu attorney.
That was just an example of 100% bluff. That was 100% bluff, and that isn't in and of itself unethical. Sometimes, a client comes to you with a problem, and sometimes you say, I can't really help you. And you say, well, can you scare them off? And sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. And I'm not passing on any particular letter. Sometimes you can send up a bluff and hope that maybe they'll say, oh, wow, they have it's a very low level to say, well, they have a lawyer who does municipal court work. Okay. That's not hard to find out these days. Now, that's not the case regarding the lawyers who are representing the plaintiff in this case. They are activists. I assume that they have done their homework. You're probably right, JT, that they probably figured you couldn't afford to put up a defense.
At least not one of high competency. Now, which means they don't follow this space, by the way. But Ron, I've got a question specifically to you because this is a technical question. And that is that I have heard, although I do not know this to be true, well played. I always like to have a pair of pliers right by the screen just in case. Ron, I have heard, although I do not know, that they have filed this in a federal way in New York in order to avoid the SLAPP laws that might bounce back on them were they in state court. Is that true? And what are the benefits and negatives for them in the way that they have filed it?
Well, that is a very, very thoughtful question. So different circuit courts have taken different attitudes toward the SLAPP laws, which are state laws that penalize people for filing lawsuits for the purpose of shutting them up. California has been historically, as it is in so many things, for good or bad, been a pioneer in anti-SLAPP laws. And the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal treats anti-SLAPP laws as if they were substantive laws of the state of, the state of California, which they are, but also applies them their procedural aspects. Basically, it imports them completely into federal law, which I think is a little problematic. And the Second Circuit out in New York sees it my way, and they say, so you can't use state law to change the standards for deciding whether or not a case is legitimate. In other words, whether you've adequately pleaded a claim for which relief can be granted. Technical stuff. But on the other hand, New York does afford, under its new 2-year-old or is it 3 years old now, anti-SLAPP law, which is pretty toothful. It used to have a toothless one, and now it has a toothy one. It does give a defendant a cause of action that is substantive New York law. So unlike most cases where someone sues and loses, if you can prove that the claim was an anti-SLAPP, or was a SLAPP lawsuit rather, under New York's anti-SLAPP statute, you can get attorney's fees and costs. So that's fairly risky. Now, it wouldn't have done them any good to file it in New York State court. Well, yeah, you can't say that. They may very well have avoided New York State court because they might think that we would not have removed the federal court, which we would have a right to do because of jurisdiction, because of diversity jurisdiction. And they may very well have figured we might not have done so, even though it is pretty common to do so. It doesn't really matter. We are in federal court now. We have very strong defenses, and we will, we got an email asking us to accept service. We'll be responding to that in due course.
Stuttering Craig from Side Scrollers Podcast.
What's up,
glad
Craig?
you could join us.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good to see
Doing
you.
well.
Hey, Greg.
I'll say this has been amazing to watch from afar. And Ron, you are legal man here. So I'm just going to throw this out. I haven't had a chance to catch the rest of the show, but I've told Smash that I think something that everybody would love to see would be a countersuit, and then eventually him owning Kotaku. What are the chances of him filing a countersuit and then potentially filing suit against Mercante's employer, who there are a number of things that she said about him in the same vein?
That Bob Iger is so goofy. I can't talk enough about what he's doing at Disney.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right on the same topic. What I was thinking too, Ron.
I feel like Ron's speaking in code right now.
That's one crazy cat over there. That Bobby Eye.
Craig, Craig, let me just say, you're asking the right questions.
What's good?
I wouldn't want to handicap the odds of the things that you're asking me about, but as they say in diplomacy, everything is on the table.
That's good to hear, because I was really curious about Bob Iger this evening. So thanks for answering that question.
Well, it just as so happens we're going to be talking about Bob Iger losing to Trump here just a few minutes. So that's a great segue. No, but first, we got to mention this, because this is what y'all kind of mentioned this earlier. Whether it was Black Girl Gamers several months ago, right? And we had this conversation when the Black Girl Gamers thing happened. They sent out the cease and desist letters to that Park Place. They probably thought, this is some little back alley operation. They can just scare them with a Temu lawyer, like we joked about before, and whatever. They'll get a letter and they'll shut up. They'll delete everything and they'll go away. Now, we were one of many channels out there at the time that were covering what was going on with Black Girl Gamers, which was a consultancy group that was involved in a number of games, many of which failed financially, miserably, unequivocally, demonstrably failed. And not to relitigate that one, but the point is that we've seen a pattern here, right? And they didn't expect that this community, that Park Place, Renegade Nation, everybody else, hey, we'd step up and go like, no, we're not playing this game. And we fought back. They went away. They went away after that response. Alyssa Mercante decided maybe, and again, I'm speculating. I'm not asking for Ron Coleman's opinion on this. Again, I'm not trying to dive behind the veil of attorney-client, but this is just me, Valiant Renegade, speculating here. I kind of wonder if, because again, there seemed to be some level of, let's say at the very least, there was coincidence, potentially, maybe, perhaps coordination, that all of a sudden we were getting struck with eight-month-old Black Girl Gamer videos for ridiculous things that weren't true. Nobody was sharing PII. Nobody was cyberbullying and harassing these videos. There was demonstrably nothing in those videos that even remotely rose to the level of what YouTube and whoever potentially falsely flagged these videos was claiming. That being said, it all happened the same week that this lawsuit gets filed. I'm sure people like Alyssa Mercante and people like Black Girl Gamers, they run in very similar circles, and they probably talk to each other because they all see themselves as being victim of the same group of people that merely discuss what they themselves say, write in articles, say online, post on Twitter themselves. And maybe I wonder if something didn't happen in the meantime or in the background where they said, hey, push forward with this guy, go in for it, because maybe that's all they've got. Maybe that's all they've got is a response or a letter to scare us to go away. And then you put a call out to your community, JT, and you were trying to raise, okay, now that this is going to be a lawsuit, you had a goal of $25,000, right? Was that was the original goal? Yeah, $25,000. And within less than a week, matter of days, this community responded, probably, perhaps, much to the chagrin of maybe others. It's now at 52,000.
A week. I mean, it's been 3 days.
That's what I say. It was less than a week. It was less than a week. It was like
right.
Less
than half a week.
Yeah, this is how big the community responded to this. They're like, we are not putting up with this crap anymore. So I wanted to get you to speak on this. Like, how did this come about? And like when you saw this, what was your reaction to this? Did you expect anything like this?
No, I was absolutely floored. Like genuinely, I've had a number of people, a handful of people, a good amount, more than a handful of people saying they would support me if I do something. And I was like, okay, I'll probably maybe I'll get like 1,000, maybe 1,100, 1,200. Like that's where my brain was. I'm like, okay, this is every little bit is going to help this, but I'm going to fight this on my own if I have to, because I am.
Did you really think that?
I did. I genuinely did. I did. I genuinely thought, like, because I don't think like it would be picked up by bigger channels. I didn't think that I wasn't thinking like this. Like now that I see it happen, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. I'm not going to play stupid. But like back when I was first doing it, I was very ignorant to it all. I was just like, oh, this sucks. People said they want to support me. I'll do this. I didn't have really much of that wasn't even like my mindset wasn't like, oh, I wonder how much I'm going to get. It's just I need help. I hope I can get some. That's what my mindset was.
Well, okay, but Smash is being really like, he's being coy here, right? What he doesn't realize is that he has unwantingly been thrust in to be the representation of the gaming community right now. And the gaming community is out here saying, hey, this guy is putting up a fight for all of us. And that's what's happening right here. So over the last 3 days, I mean, we backed him, Dr. Disrespects backed him, Hypnotics backed him, like go down the list, right? Because, because here's the thing, right? We all talk about this stuff on a day-to-day basis, but what they don't realize is that we're not all talk. We are action too. That's our key when it comes to side scrollers. Yes, we talk about it, but we will also act. And that's something that they're not used to. They're not used to getting slapped in the face, pardon the pun here with the anti-slap stuff, but they're not used to getting punched in the nose. And that's what's happening right here. For the first time, they're being told no. And they're going, what's happening? I don't understand how the big bad boogeyman who was the ists and the phobes are saying so many are actually pushing back against us. They've never been told no once in their life. And Smash is the ringleader of this, whether he likes it or not. Congratulations, Smash.
Well, I said it last night on Flashcast. Like I wear this crowd, and I did not really ask for it. It just kind of was shoved on top of
you
me.
didn't, and Kabrutus didn't when he started DEI detected. Like that's just how it goes. Sometimes you get thrust into a situation, and Kabrutus has taken it, and he's trying to figure it out, and just like you're trying to figure it out now. And that's the one thing is you have the backing of people who are willing to act, whereas the other way, it's all talk. It's all bark and no bite, as we've seen. Come fight me. Oh, wait. They don't want to throw hands, and you're willing to throw hands, and I appreciate that.
Speaking of, Ron, you've seen those clips too of her saying, "Come fight me" physically, right? You've seen that stuff, I'm sure.
Did I?
Have you not seen her do the
Talk about that Bob Iger again. He's a really fancy fella.
Well, if you want to,
it's the universe. I think that you get a perfect hairline, you got to face the Alyssa Mercantes in life. Okay, yin and yang, man.
But
I've seen some of the clips. I mean, if you have them readied up, if you want to, don't share the link. But okay, I was going to say, if you want to share it backstage,
she was begging people to fight them physically.
Yeah.
And now she's saying she's been suffering through emotional distress for the past 8-9 months or whatever that TikTok video she was crying. And I'm like, but you were challenging people to physical fights during that period. So how you are the antagonist here. You're creating problems, and then you're trying to cry about the problems that you yourself have created. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but that's something I would imagine a court would look at and be like, you are causing these problems yourself.
One would have to assume, based on just mere observation, that would be a reasonable conclusion to the circumstances. You look at everything she's done and said herself. Nobody's, to my knowledge, at least nobody here on this panel, has put words in her mouth. She claims that she's put other things. Never mind. But I mean, her words.
Now you got a letter coming to you. Now you just insinuated.
Well, again, I'm reading. We had her tweets up on the screen earlier, and this is kind of the thing.
That's why it's so important. That's why this sets a precedent. Like if this were to be somehow go through. But I wanted to say something real quick before I forgot.
Please.
What I think this is all about, and multiple people, I didn't think of this myself. I've heard multiple people say this. This is not necessarily about, oh, I hope I can get money from him, although she'll clearly take that if she gets it. But it's more about trying to create a narrative to paint the portrait of some sort of Gamergate 2, proving that the gamers are the bad people, and being able to write it in the halls of history that a gamer YouTuber was sued by someone in the press because they were just so horrible. And just hearing that allegation paints a very bad, dark picture of the reality of what it actually was. So I think that's probably the major course of what she was hoping to get accomplished here, which has not happened yet. But no matter how this case ends, that will eventually be how this is remembered. And she knows that.
I feel like this is so much more like when this whole thing got brought up, producer Blabs, she was like, oh, it's just them squabbling. I was like, no, Blabs, it's way more important than that. It's way more important than just a couple of this online beef. It's the fact that if she wins, if she was to win this lawsuit, then the next time that we're critical of a developer, is someone in the media, they go, well, they made my fifis feel bad. I'm so upset. And then they file a lawsuit for 75, 100 grand. And guess what? We're gone like that.
Not even their fifis bad, but they affected our sales.
Yes, exactly. Hey, 100, you're 100% right. And we will sue them for damages or whatever it may be.
This is the battle of the new media and the legacy media, and who's going to control the narratives going forward for these products that have hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. Because it doesn't matter to the corporations if they're represented by crazies, so long as the crazies are shilling exactly the way they want them to.
As long as they're their crazies, yeah.
Right. YouTube and X and the Green Machine have empowered people like SmashJT and Craig and Side Scrollers and Valiant to get out there and say exactly what they think about products, and then put those products at risk prior to their release. The corporations clearly have a disdain for that. And, well, For now, they're on the side of Mercante, maybe, but given that she no longer is employed by Kotaku, maybe not even then.
Will you hire her back when you own it, Smash, just to fire her again?
No, I wouldn't want to introduce anymore. In fact, after that, I just want to be completely done with her. The less I ever heard of her, the better at that point. Honestly.
That's just it. I mean, when you put yourself out there in the way that I think we would all agree that she did, saying the things that she said about herself, nobody invented that. It was literally just reading her own tweets. That's what I find so appalling is that, you know, you'd even be able to get this far with filing a lawsuit saying that somebody read my own tweets. I mean, if in my mind, this was me, and that might not be the legal way to look at it, I'm sure, but in my mind, that's kind of where we're at here with this. It's like, I tweeted something, somebody else read my tweet.
And reacted to it.
Reacted to it. Did not seem in any way to take it out of context, but with what context it was presented by the author of the tweet, that she sucks things for money, you know, or whatever. Like it's just her words.
You know what the worst part about all this, and I've had a few people comment this on the videos I've made. They say what really sucks in the modern era of, especially in the United States, how lawfare works is you can do exactly, Valiant, what you're saying, and then sue someone for that, and that someone might not have the financial means to hire someone, and they are automatically in the wrong because of it. And that is a horrific, scary thing.
Yeah.
But this is how it goes. I mean, lots of times, lots of people are shut down. All things being equal, rich beats poor, big beats little. This is how it usually goes. My firm, my partner, I'm not a partner anymore because I quasi-retired from being a partner. Harvey Dillon started the Center for American Liberties as a way to deal with the fact that a lot of the people that we wanted to represent in civil rights cases, free speech cases, discrimination cases, couldn't afford legal help. So, you know, you can do a certain amount of pro bono, and then where you draw the line on what pro bono cases you'll take and which ones you won't becomes very difficult if you get good at it. She set up the Center for American Liberties as a nonprofit to raise funds so people could donate to cases where people had no way of paying for representation. And get a tax write-off. And some of these are people with a lot of money, and you know they'll give 5 or more figures worth of money to a nonprofit as a write-off, but because there's also accountability and transparency there. Even then, we can't take all the cases. You know, people are banging down our doors all the time, but thank God I'm in a good area where people do find me, and I do find ways to be able to take on cases like this. But you're 100% right. Lots of people have been shut down, and there are also lots of things that big does to little and rich does to poor that even under the best of circumstances, lawyers can't do anything about, including almost everything that involves YouTube.
Funny how that works.
The games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse, because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker. And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Yeah, she's a totally sane, stable individual there. Yeah, okay.
That Bob Iger, man. Tell you what.
Yeah. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.